The finale of what's been an amazing first season is nearly upon us. We know it's a strong ending in the novella, and we hope for the same or similar in the show. I described the book version as somber, but ending on a high note, as the realm is now anxious about what's going to come because of Baelor's death. There's also a pretty positive outcome for Dunk and Egg. It looks like they'll be together for a while. We as book readers know for sure that's true. There's a little difficulty in setting that up and getting to that point, and it appears that the show from the trailer looks like they're going to lean a little more into that, but I doubt it's going to be anything hugely different given how mild the changes have been so far. And that seems to be at least part of the reason why this episode is called The Morrow. It looks ahead to what's next for Westeros, a new future, something that it wasn't planning for. And of course, for our duo, something that we all have been planning for and hoping for. And we'll have all that and more as we preview the final episode of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms on this episode of History of Westeros podcast. Hello and welcome back, everybody. It's our final preview episode of the season. We'll, of course, be returning to preview episodes when we get around to House of the Dragon season, which just dropped a teaser. They really stitched that all together. As one is ending, the other is beginning. So we will be doing a breakdown of the teaser stream, or a stream of the breakdown of the first teaser from House of the Dragon about 30 minutes after this ends. So stick around. That's going to take the place of our weekly game stream this week. We also won't have a game stream next week because we're traveling, but we'll be back to those regularly in March.
We're going to the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia rave in Nashville.
That's right. Green Man will be present. Lots of Green Men, probably. So I'll be posting on Patreon and Facebook some polls as part of the wrap-up, some full season type things. Best performances, favorite scenes, just other things, basic things like that, plus a few things that get a little more down into the nitty gritty. And we'll have a wrap-up episode for the whole season as well with Sean on Monday in the usual time slot of 6 Eastern. So that'll be just the week after we review episode 6 as per normal. Here's a poll to get us started. We know from trailers and some screenshots maybe, we know Kiera of Tyrosh. That's Valar's wife. We know that she's at the funeral. And we don't think she was there in the first place, and we know some time passes between. So the question is, will other royal family travel to the funeral? Yes or no? Simple as that. Now you can feel free, and I actually encourage you to suggest possible attendees to the funeral from the royal family that we might see. For example, Maekar and Baelor's brothers, or other nephews, or niece in one case, or King Daeron doesn't travel there in the book, but maybe he will in the show. You never know. So there's possibilities, other in-laws and family like that. We're curious who we'll see, and that should be pretty fun. Even if their names aren't dropped on the show, we'll be looking for that all in the credits and all that, digging deep for that. This is tied for the shortest episode of the season, 31 minutes. I believe episode 2 is the other one that was that short. The novella equivalent is 1,750 words, which is actually shorter than the trial itself. The trial was about 1,900 words. They're really close. So the final 2 episodes here are based on a very similar amount of words in the novel. We have our first shot here by the tree, we'll call it. It's Dunk still at his tree. He's a little too beat up to move locations and still out there sleeping under the stars. He's very battered up, and we have this conversation, or part of a conversation. Clearly, we don't get all of it with Sir Lionel, and Lionel is kind of animated. He's saying, Dunk says, Baelor fought for me. He gave his life. And then Lionel says, your prince fought for you against men sworn to protect him. He risked nothing. Well, surely not only is there more context to that, but Lionel's exaggerating. Baelor definitely risked something, else he wouldn't have died. Assuming he's even talking about Baelor, which I assume he is. Now, Lionel, of course, could be talking about the fact that, hey, there was 5 other people that fought for him too, him being one of them, and 2 of them died. Obviously not Lionel, so 3 people died. Lionel's injured too, you can tell. He's got a stag crutch, which is a great detail. A stag crutch. How cool is that? The man has a stag crutch. He's got a cut over his left eye. His right wrist is all wrapped up. I mean, yeah, it makes sense that he would have taken some injuries. I'm going to guess we're going to see any of the combatants we see, and we may not see all of them. In fact, we almost certainly won't. We'll have some injuries, limping, facial bruising, just things to show that they're injured. So it looks like this is his maester, Lionel's maester, and looks like he's offering some wine. I do believe some wine would come in handy when you're that beat up and feeling in a lot of pain, and a lot of that pain is emotional. So we have a voiceover also by Lionel, and it's probably related to the same conversation. He says, there's a war coming. We could be a force, you and I. I don't know which war he's talking about, but it's not hard to imagine that it kind of fits into what Rafe was saying. You know, the Blackfire Rebellion's not done. The Blackfires aren't done. There's still a lot of animosity out there. And we know that's true. We don't know that that's what Lionel's talking about, but we know the Blackfires are still out there, and we know that there will be more Blackfire Rebellions. Definitely just sounds, simplified, it sounds like he's trying to recruit Dunk. I mean, he's like, we could be a force, you and I. Like, what else could he mean? You know, like, come with me, join my team. He's obviously not speaking of some sort of formal alliance. Dunk is just a hedge knight, but he likes him. So, anyway, and to back up just briefly, yes, these wars are coming, the Blackfires, etc. But what's going to throw everything off is the Great Spring Sickness, which I assume they will use very similarly, if not almost identically. So, yeah, it's not actually a decade till we get another Blackfire Rebellion that's actually a war. The second Blackfire Rebellion that takes place during the Mystery Night, as you know here on the show, and in most places, we don't call it a war. The third certainly is. And, of course, Lionel himself is going to have a rebellion, a brief one, over a broken betrothal, and that's 3 decades from Ashford. So we have one that's a decade from Ashford, the third Blackfire Rebellion, and Lionel's rebellion is 3 decades from Ashford, almost exactly like that. So nicely aligned. Here's a nice little book quote to tell us where Dunk's at in terms of his pain and his health, because it's mostly just implied here, I think. I doubt we're going to get a lot of specifics. You know, he's probably just going to be in pain, limping around, and time is going to pass, as we know, so by the end, he's probably going to be in better shape, and some of the trailer shots reveal that he's no longer walking with a cane. In few shots, he has a cane, a few of them don't, so it really implies healing. And I think his eye maybe even isn't so closed later. Anyway, the point is, that all makes sense. Here's a quote from the book to add some context to where we think Dunk's at.
He could not see the wound without thinking of Baelor. He saved me once with his sword, and once with a word, even though he was a dead man as he stood there. The world made no sense when a great prince died, so a hedge knight might live. Dunk sat beneath his elm and stared morosely at his foot.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. It's a great way to write it for George, and that's one of the reasons I pulled this quote is, yeah, he's in a lot of physical pain, but he's also in emotional pain, and the two are very tied together. So he can, the first line says it all. He could not see the wound without thinking of Baelor. That's the state of mind he's in. So here's an image on screen I was talking about. It looks like his crutch is just leaning on the wall there. He's doesn't necessarily need it anymore. He's got his shield. He retrieved the broken shield, which is not in the novel, and is a great touch because it's a memento. And I think that's the kind of thing he would do. I think it's very fitting that he would retrieve it and keep it, especially since they made it broken in a way that the sigil's largely intact. You can see the above part, so the missing part isn't the elm tree or the shooting star. So that's a little convenient too. But hey, it works. I like it. That's a good choice. Simple things like this is what I like about the show. They've made a lot of simple choices that have big impact. They don't change the story, but they resonate really well emotionally. This is a perfect example. I mean, you don't even have to know what's going on to know what's going on loosely in his mind by looking at that. It evokes emotions in us, too. Of course, what Dunk meant by Baelor saving him twice was don't put boiling oil on his wound. Of course, the other is very obvious, taking place in the trial itself. So let's talk about the funeral a little bit, because the funeral is directly after Dunk is holding Baelor in his arms. So there's a decent chance this episode starts straight into the funeral, because that's how it goes in the novel. here is the actual quote from the book, which I'm guessing is going to be pretty similar here as usual, especially because it's so formal. Here it is, quote.
Baelor of House Targaryen, Prince of Dragonstone, Hand of the King, Protector of the Realm, and heir apparent to the Iron Throne of the Seven Kingdoms of Westeros, went to the fire in the yard of Ashford Castle on the north bank of River Cockleswent. Other great houses might choose to bury their dead in the dark earth or sink them in the cold green sea, but the Targaryens were the blood of the dragon, and their ends were writ in flame.
Well, that's how you write a eulogy. A short one, anyway. Yeah, so I wonder about a few of these details. You can see some people there at the funeral. It's not clear 100% that those are Targaryens, obviously besides Maekar, and you can see Egg. But, so given my question at the beginning, the answer is probably yes, for given the poll, but it's not 100% sure. We don't know who these people are. That's Manfred over there. We don't know who that brown-haired guy is. We're pretty sure the pink-hued hair lady is Kiera of Tyrosh, who I referred to. But really, the people standing with Manfred, are those supposed to be Targaryens? There's no Targaryens of that age, that fit the setting. So that's why I'm posing the question of who we might see.
You know how he brought Red up to the stands? He brought some other sex workers with him to Baelor's funeral.
He wanted silver-haired ones because they'd fit in better, yeah. Manfred's always thinking ahead, 2 moves ahead of the rest of us. Speaking of 2, there's only 2 of the Kingsguard there. It's Sir Donal and Sir Roland again. That also tracks because Sir Willem was probably injured. There is at least one of them gets significantly injured in the novel, and it's probably true here as well. That would fit very well. So that fits. You got Maekar looking pretty sad. That's fitting. He's going to be a chance for some facial acting here with the characters. The person to the left here is my best candidate for a Targaryen. I think they're richly dressed, not richly enough to be King Daeron. And also, there would be more Kingsguard, I think, if King Daeron was there. And that also means that probably isn't the queen. The queen is also not a Targaryen, she's a Martell. So that doesn't really fit either. So this could be Aerys the First, and that would be thus his wife, Aelinor, who is a Penrose, but the Penroses of this time have some Targaryen ancestry, perhaps. So
I like that guess. I've also seen that it looks a bit like the Plum sigil, but that would make Viserys Plum much older. So it would change canon, but I see the argument that his little necklace there looks a bit like the Plum sigil.
Sure.
But I still don't, I like your theory more.
It's surprisingly empty. When you see the fallback shot, there's not a whole lot. That's another reason I asked the question, is there's definitely not a whole lot of people here. So if any members of the family are there, and it's probably yes, it's more about who rather than if. Maybe I should have phrased the poll differently, but either way, it's a cool question to think about. So that's kind of the bottom line. But yeah, it is also notable that there's not a ton of people here, and if enough time passed for some people to travel here, why not more? Maybe there'll be something said about that. So we do have someone to the far left who's another candidate for a character that might be Targaryen or part Targaryen, and that's Mataris. We got a short person that could be Valar's younger brother. I don't have another person of brown hair that I could fit in that spot that I thought about. So good chance that's young Mataris, who he's going to die to the spring sickness. Whether or not that's Mataris is going to die of the great spring sickness. So too bad for him. We definitely can see Valar there. So that's another person that's clearly taking one of the slots. And of course, Maekar himself. Now, if Daella was there, she'd probably be standing by Egg and Maekar. And there's no one small enough to be Rhae, the youngest of Maekar's children. So, yeah, there's not a lot of obvious choices here. Rhaegal was supposedly too sickly to travel. That bearded guy has a strong chin, even though his hair is disheveled. So there's no way that's Rhaegal. You'd expect Jenna Dondarrion to be there, maybe? That could be who's standing with Manfred. But why would she be silver-haired? So, yeah, and that's, of course, Baelor's wife.
I mean, she could be the brunette with the other brunette man, I guess.
Yeah, that could be Lord Dondarrion, maybe.
Yeah, it's not really how we picture her, strictly speaking,
Yeah.
especially with Manfred. But anyways,
Yeah, it doesn't look like Manfred at all.
I assume
Yeah.
she would have red hair.
Yeah, me too. So you can see why we're having trouble with some of these guesses and why we wanted to draw more attention to it. And I don't know that the episode is going to give a lot of clarity. It's not like they're going to have conversations where they talk to each other afterward. Well, they might, but that's not super likely. So we have to do the whole digging thing here to figure out who these people are. And we're doing it in advance of the episode itself. One thing we get in the trailer is a line straight from the book. Valarr says he had it in him to be a great king. Why would the gods take him and leave you? Dunk responds, I've wondered the same. Here is the version of that scene from the book. Quote.
When he stopped to offer awkward sympathies, well larded with thanks, Prince Valarr blinked cool blue eyes at him and said, "My father was only 39. He had it in him to be a great king, the greatest since Aegon the Dragon. Why would the gods take him and leave you?" He shook his head. "Be gone with you, Sir Duncan. Be gone."
Here in the show, it's not his cool blue eyes, it's his cool blue eye. Yeah. And his cool brown eye. It is a brown and a blue, right? Or is it a blue and a green? A brown and a blue, cool, yeah. So, of course, I'm referring to his heterochromia, which they gave Baelor as well. Now, this actor has it for real. And you can see his silver streak at last. Yay, they didn't ditch the silver streak. It really is there. That was very pleasing. I've never seen a fandom so pleased at a single streak of silver hair. But hey, I'm part of that, so I'm not making fun of anybody. If I am, it's me. Ha! So, yeah, this is probably... It sounds like we're getting a very similar scene here. Although we actually get to see it, because in the book, Dunk kind of remembers doing it. It all goes by really fast. It's all kind of in a haze. He's just very sad. It's all very tragic, and he's still dealing with that. And the narrative reflects that. Yeah, I wonder if it would be cool if there's additional conversation here, or if we get Valarr saying something else, because we don't get much from him, and that's how the novel is. But it would be cool to get a little more. But I wouldn't count on it. Ashford Meadow Grounds. Let's talk about that. There's a little bit of things happening there. This is not really in the novel either, so this is kind of cool, but it makes sense. It makes sense for a lot of reasons. He's limping through Ashford as the tournament's being taken down, right? There's a few people who look like they're looking at him, but not everybody. There's a lot of people who aren't looking at him, so it's not like he's just the object of everyone's staring. If he was, it wouldn't be too weird, although overwhelmingly people are happy for him. They're glad. So if they were looking at him, they'd probably be like smiling or whatever. But a lot of people just seem to be kind of going about their business, at least in these shots. But one person who's not is Raymond, who comes right up and hugs him. And it looks like he's got a bruise on his cheek. And you can kind of see that Red is there. You can see the back of her head in one of these shots. Yeah, there she is. There's Red. So for some reason, Red's hanging out. That's cool. Red gets to say farewell to Dunk too, presumably. And I like that there's a scene with Raymond there at the end, because there isn't one with Raymond at the end of the novella, if I remember correctly. It just kind of goes straight into the Targaryen stuff and the resolution with Egg and Maekar and all that. So he never speaks with some of those other characters. Hopefully he speaks again with maybe Steely Pate too, but he probably won't talk to everybody. But there's a lot of like farewells in the novella that don't happen. So I think that's one thing they might add here. And it looks like that's literally what's happening here. Looks like they're saying this could be a farewell right here. It has that vibe. And we know it will be, even if that's not what's actually happening in this moment. It almost certainly is a farewell. Raymond isn't in the second or third novels. George probably planned on having him come back at some time, because he does live a while. He does found the new branch of House Fossaway at, what's the name of the castle? New Barrel, I believe. And so he's an important person, and there'd be a reason maybe for Dunk to visit there at some point. Like, why wouldn't they swing by at some point in their long careers? It also appears that this is where Maekar's guards find him. It's different than the book version, at least a little bit, because in the book version, Maekar's guards show up at the elm tree, and he's like, "Which prince?" And Maekar just pops out. But here, it looks like they're showing to pick him up and take him to the castle, and for a reason that also makes sense, which is that Maekar also looks like he's injured, and it looks like he might be a little limpy as well. In one of the trailer shots, he's moving kind of slowly, and that makes sense. Like, yeah, everyone took a beating. So, yeah, that's a minuscule change. I certainly don't mind that. while he's walking around, with the tents, like maybe before Maekar's guards find him, there's a lot of other possibilities for people him to talk to, as we said. One of them I'm wondering about is Plummer, because Plummer made that offer, and that might be embarrassing now. And remember, even though Dunk didn't accept, he was thinking about it until the last minute. Like, he brought up Andrew as a possible person for him to go against just to see what Raymond would say. And then, 2 minutes later, Egg runs in talking about Aerion. So there might be a little bit more of that. I hope he runs into Sir Robin, and I hope he runs into any of the Humphreys families, or more resolution that doesn't really happen in the novel. Here's a picture of Daeron. As we said, more evidence of injury. He might have gotten that, tap on the helm that he wanted, maybe a little too hard. He wanted it not too hard, but he deserved a
Doesn't
bit
he
more
get
of a
stomped
beating.
by his horse?
In the book, he may have broken his ankle, yes.
Okay, well, maybe he also got hit by his horse a little bit.
Yeah, he is
too.
sitting here, clearly, so he might have a crutch that's off screen or something. Either way, he looks injured. His eyes look very bloodshot, which, of course, they do. He's probably been drinking. Oh, look at that eye. Yeah, look at that. That looks like he
more
actually
than
took,
bloodshot. It looks like he took a hit to the eye.
You're right. The bruising
face.
reaches up to below his eye, so it's a substantial hit, and it looks like it might have even hit his ear. It's a pretty substantial thwacking that looks like probably Sir Robin gave him. He might have taken a lance to the helm, in fact. Go Sir Robin. All right, yeah. So we don't know what the setting of this is. There's just inside a tent. There's a lot of possibilities, I suppose. That curtain doesn't give it away. I don't think that's the curtain Lionel had at his tent, but certainly Lionel's tent's been a place we've been a few times. I'm not so sure Daeron would go there, although he would know maybe that's where the good parties are, but no one's partying right now, are they? I mean,
is Daeron really a partier or just a sad drunk?
That's a good point. He's a sad drunk. He's not a partier. He probably does. He's a guy who drinks alone. You're right. Yeah, he's not a dude that he doesn't seem to have drinking buddies. Although maybe he does. We just aren't seeing them here. Yeah. For any of you who joined the World of Science Fiction Society and are able to nominate for the Hugo Awards, you should have an email with your nomination ballot by now. If not, you should ask for it or seek that out, because that's how you can nominate all eligible works, including us. Now, remember, we are in best related work, not best fan cast, which you might assume. That's the intuitive thing you would think we're in. But we're not. It's best related work. And our episode, Ragnarok versus the Long Night, is the one we would like you to nominate. Feel free to nominate a different one. We're not trying to tell you what to do, but this is our strong suggestion, we'll say. This is the one we're trying to get nominated on our end. So it'd be very helpful if you joined in on that effort.
And you have until March 28th when the nominations close. So take your time. Look at the stuff you watched and read throughout 2025. It has to be released in 2025 to be eligible, and nominate all your favorite books and short stories and comics and video games and all those things.
It looks like it's going to be a long run for Dunk and Egg. Obviously, you don't want to get too ahead of ourselves after just one season, but we might find ourselves more than a decade from now looking back on this first season and with a lot of fondness and thinking about how it started it all. And I like things that help me remember that. And of course, we're going to have all these episodes. We're going to have things that do that. But you can get a Shaya's Tour shirt. That's the coolest thing, because it starts right here and it's going to continue to be relevant for who knows how long in real life. Well, forever, really. But in terms of lining up with the show, it's going to line up for so long. And that's just really cool. You can be the envy of your friends and family. Maybe not today or tomorrow. Maybe, though. But maybe in 5 years, they're like, whoa, when everybody's deeper into the fandom, when more people understand Dunk and Egg and have gotten more knowledge of it, seen more seasons, this is going to be even cooler. And you will have already had one. You can be cool by getting in early, right? That's how that works. Yeah. So go to go to the link in the description, whether you're watching the video or listening to the podcast version, and get one or two. Yeah. All right, let's talk about Ashford Castle and Maekar, which is the meat of the episode, at least as far as the novella is concerned, the part that I think most of us consider why it's such a strong ending. It's entirely dialogue-based in the novel, although it appears there's going to be something maybe not so dialogue-based here in the show, which we'll get to in a second. It looks like a similar startup. Sir Duncan, Prince Maekar, demands a word, and as I said before, goes to the castle instead of the camp, and they have their conversation there. Not big difference at all. And Maekar, like I said, is injured a little bit, leaning on his desk, and we have this line as Egg is is eavesdropping. Great touch. That is the kind of thing he would do, I think. Maekar says, "My youngest son seems to have grown fond of you, sir," which is right from the book. It says it is time he was a squire, but he tells me he will serve no knight but you. Yeah, you can see Maekar leaning, which is evidence of the injury, I think. And also, interestingly, here's the way his face looks. The tone is absolutely different from what I think a lot of us imagined from the book. Not in some massively significant way. A way that's consistent with how this Maekar has been portrayed. This Maekar is a little more emotional, less stern, a little less like Stannis, which is, we couldn't help but notice. We've been noticing that for decades, that Stannis and Maekar have a lot in common. You also can't help but notice that Stannis' first appearance is in 1998. Maekar's first appearance is in 1998. So I can understand why they changed him a little bit. But the thing I'm pointing to here is in the novel, it looks like Maekar is very proper and very proud. He's like, my son, he tells me he'll serve no knight with you. Now, you can't imply the tone there in a novel unless it's given to you, and it's not. You just imagine it in Maekar's voice, and you've been given a very stern, almost grim version of this character. Here, he's not so grim. He's a little more, I wouldn't say sarcastic, but certainly not stern and grim. Some sternness, but less sternness, and definitely more emotive. And that's on display here because he's a little soft here, isn't he? He's a little like, he tells me he's a little like humble almost.
He has a vulnerability to him.
Vulnerable, that's a good way to put it.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I think he does. And he has like tears in his eyes. Like he has, like his eyes are shining.
Yes.
With how choked up he is and how he's holding it back. I think you can tell.
Yeah, and he says, will you have him? And that way he says that is very humble and vulnerable, like you said. This is not the angry Maekar of the earlier part. This is not the Maekar who went, ugh, to his brother being called the soul of chivalry. This is someone who's just had a huge family tragedy, multiple part family tragedy that's having a ripple effect. And he's just trying to make the most of it, I think. But we actually get Dunk's response, and it's not the same as the novel, so that's curious. Probably isn't going to end that differently. But he says, I beg your pardon, my lord, but I think I'm done with princes. That's almost certainly for the show-only audiences. We know Egg and Dunk aren't going to not be together at the end. That would be the weirdest, craziest change of all. In the book, Maekar offers him a place at Summerhall as a household knight. That could still happen here. It doesn't necessarily sound like he's doing that from the tone here, but it could easily still be here, and that stands as maybe an idea of what they were doing with Sir Lionel. Like we have Maekar trying to recruit him to be Egg's squire, and we also have Lionel doing the same, apparently doing the same, which is a way to fill out what's happening here and give more resolution to the other characters, I think. So in addition to Egg overhearing this eavesdropping, we have them sitting next to each other and him looking very sad. Look at him. This kid is such a good actor. He says, maybe you're not the knight I thought you were. We get that line. And that's almost certainly because he's hurt about what Dunk just said. We see him eavesdropping, so he must have heard Dunk say that. And somehow it's going to resolve because we see there's another trailer shot of him coming to Dunk at the end, or presumably the end. And the reason I say that is because Dunk looks like he's getting ready to leave, and he's not on his cane anymore. So it has to be after time has passed, and Egg is wearing his traveling around in the countryside. He's wearing this cape. This isn't Targaryen Egg. This is pretending not to be Targaryen Egg.
Yeah, he's wearing his disguise.
Yeah, exactly. This is disguised Egg, not Aegon. I missed a little funny thing. You wanted to point out that hat.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say, is about that hat. A lot of people have asked about it. I think there's a really obvious answer. Maekar didn't want him parading about with his bald head and say, you're going to wear this hat and cover up what you did there. And also, bald heads get cold. And also, as we know, Egg is known for wearing a straw hat later on. So I kind of like the setup of Egg's a kid who wears hats. He's fashionable.
He's looking a bit like his great-great-great-grandfather, Daemon. Not the hat part, but the black and that tunic.
Yeah, it's a very similar style. I mean, it actually matches Maekar. If you see in the scene, they have exact matching fits at the funeral.
Oh, nice.
It's pretty cute, I think. Where's this? They have matching sashes kind of look. Anyways.
A line I wonder if we'll get that's in the novel is dragons or dragonflies, and that's like Dunk is pondering, what to do. And of course he lands on, why not both? Basically. So here's something that's maybe a little different. We actually see a shot of Aerion convalescing, and we see what is almost certainly Egg sneaking in with a knife. That is definitely not in the novel. Of course, we couldn't have seen it even if it was, because it would be from Egg's point of view. There's no way Dunk is like hiding behind a curtain here. I kind of doubt anything too serious happens.
He wants to make a sister.
Yeah, it's like, who's for getting revenge for his childhood? Yeah. And that's a pretty good way to show how trauma is passed down. It has a karmic aspect to it, which is that your own trauma can be passed on to other people, and it can kind of boomerang, which is almost what's happening here, or is what's happening here. If Aerion was awful to Egg, and Egg is at least considering returning it in a very similar way, sneaking into his bedroom. Yeah.
Question: do you think this happens before Dunk refuses him, or after? Like, is Egg like, I'm stuck here, I'm gonna do it, or does he do it and then Maekar's like, I gotta see about Dunk?
Ooh, good question.
It could happen either order would make sense, but
one thought I had was that this might be part of his exile. This might be part of why he sent Aerion away, because he's like, well, I got two of my kids are trying to kill each other, or one of them trying to kill the other. So it's a good reason to separate them, and he needs to be punished. So, not that he needs more reason to send Aerion away, but that was my first thought. But I like your idea. Yeah, maybe it could be before. Yeah. Let's go out in the meadow. We already looked at the shot of him looking at his broken shield, and that was a good example of him looking in better health. And then here, when he's looking to ride off, we had that. So let's put that back on screen. It's almost certainly not some sort of trailer trick, because he turns around, right? He's turning around, and Egg is probably, this isn't some trick where Egg, it's not actually Egg right there. It probably really is Egg right there. And you can see Dunk does still have like a crutch. He's just not using it in that moment. So he's probably still going to need it to get around, but he doesn't fully rely on it. So it's kind of showing the progress of healing. He's not all the way healed, but he is definitely better. And yeah, Egg in his simple clothes. A couple ways this could end. Of course, they could make up their own ending. They could add to the existing ending. But there's a few lines that we get from the novel that I'm really hoping for, some lines that are kind of iconic. So I want to leave you all with those, with the positive thought that I hope we get maybe both of these lines. If not, hopefully we get at least one. Quote.
The old man, Ser Arlen, every day at evenfall he'd say, I wonder what the morrow will bring.
Love that. That's so good, right? And it really expresses sort of what Dunk and Egg are going to. It could be their, like, house words, so to speak. Obviously, they're not a house, but if Dunk had a house, I wonder what the morrow will bring. Could be it, And here is the actual last lines of the novel.
Dunk thought for a moment. I have never been over the Red Mountains. Would you like to have a look at Dorne? Egg grinned. I hear they have good puppet shows, he said.
Such a good ending, because not only is it very positive, it's a great tone shift from all the somber stuff. It also has Egg's intelligence. Like, he gets immediately what Dunk is thinking about. He's like, oh, you want to go see Tanzel. He knows instantly. And that's like, not only does it show his insight, his intelligence, but it's the essence of being a squire. You have to anticipate what your knight needs or is thinking about. And he's obviously really good at it. So love that very much. I'm excited to see this last episode, even though, of course, it will be a little bit bittersweet because it's the end. But hey, we're very fortunate in the year 2026 that we're going to get a whole nother Game of Thrones TV show later in the year. So stick with us, y'all. In about 25 minutes or so, we'll be back with another live stream. If you're catching this later and not live, well, you should see another episode in your feed right around the same time. So make sure to catch our book reviews of The Hedge Knight and the other books, and our episodes on Baelor Breakspear, which we have been bringing back to the front of our feed. Hopefully you guys get to see this with a bunch of friends and family and enjoy it all. Let's have the results of our poll. 79% of you believe there'll be other royal family there. 21% said no. Yeah, that sounds about right to me.
I saw an idea. Would it be Aelena Targaryen, who did, referencing House Plum, who married into the Plums, that she might be the older silver-haired lady?
Yeah.
Doesn't explain who the man is, unless that is Viserys Plum and he's just way older than we think, but it would explain her potentially.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's a great call. I did not think of Aelena, but that's a great call. That's very possible. Yeah, good choice. Okay.
That was from Christina K.
Thanks, Christina K. Good take as usual. And thanks to Brand the Builder for our awesome video intro. A lot of y'all have commented on it and watched it independently of any of our episodes because it's just that cool. So thanks again to Brand for that. We have been passing on y'all's comments and applause for that. So he knows how great you all think it is, and we'll continue to tell him. On behalf of Ashea, I'm Aziz. We'll see you shortly for House of the Dragon preview, and on Monday for the finale of Night of the Seven Kingdoms. In between now and then, you have time for some Valar Rereadus.